Best Podcast Ever is sponsored by the Gertsburg Law Firm, a full-service business law firm in Cleveland and Chagrin Falls that's changing the way businesses retain their attorneys. Go to gertsburglaw.com to learn more. While you're there, check out Cover My 6, a complete legal audit of the 6 areas that most often create or prevent business lawsuits and government investigations. Go to covermy6.com to learn how we keep you safe. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to listen to the best podcast ever recorded.
I'm trying to raise awareness, more of a consciousness about the consequences of everything that you're doing today online and off, how they can come back and haunt you years down the road, as I am indeed a perfect example of that.
Molly Gebler.
Alex Gertsburg. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Hi. What a great entrance.
I know. Oh. Nellie Gertsburg and I have like this world record breaking harmonizing thing that we do where somebody will just like do something like that, but we'll go for like a half hour.
Nice.
Yeah, it's absurd.
But
yeah, it's fun. And it's like a whole like a voice jam. It's fun.
I love it.
Anywho. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Can I tell you something, Molly? And I mean this. And I want people listening to this to fact check me on this, because Molly does not own a scale. And she instructs her doctors not to take her weight, which I don't even know how they can fulfill their Hippocratic oath by not doing it.
Like you can deny it until a certain point, and then they're like, we have to take it today.
People who know Molly, tell me if I'm crazy, but you are losing weight.
Really?
Yes. For sure, 100%.
It's probably because I'm dying, because I think I'm dying, or I'm anemic or something.
Let's talk about
There's something going on.
You know what? Take the goods with the bads here, Molly.
Right?
I'm not joking.
Amen.
You're thinner.
Am I stealth?
I don't know. I don't know what's happening. But
thank you.
So wait. So let's. Why do you think you're anemic?
Well, because I am showing bruises all over my body, like unexplained bruises.
It's not rough stuff related.
Not rough stuff. I am extremely exhausted, which is odd for me. I have a headache probably every other day, and just one place every time.
How long has this been going on?
I don't know, like maybe a month. So,
Molly,
like I saw one bruise, and then, okay, I hit my arm, and then I saw another bruise, and then I just don't feel like myself.
Most people go to the doctor after a few weeks of that.
Yeah.
Not so much for you, huh, Molly? Why don't you go to the doctor?
I will. You're
going to do that like this year? Or
Yeah. Maybe this.
You got to get a flu shot anyway. Do you get flu shots?
I don't get flu shots.
God, you're killing me.
Knock on wood, I don't get flu shots.
Is that because you listen to Jenny McCarthy about vaccines?
No. I just
never have.
I don't know. I always think it's for old people, and then I don't get it. I don't know. I don't know.
You are killing me, Molly Gebler.
I don't know. I have big news.
Well, hold on. Let's close out this subject. So number one, you are.
I will
losing
go to the
weight.
doctor
Number
and get
two,
a blood test.
Can you do me a favor? Can you commit to me and our 57 million audience members that you will go see the doctor before our next podcast?
Yes. Well,
so you can report
next
back?
Monday. No, I can't.
Why not?
Well, I can promise that I'll have an appointment made by next Monday. But I mean, my doctor, I told too many people about him, and so he's so popular now.
Do I need to make a phone call? Do I need to tell him to make special appointment? No, you got to go. I think you got to go this week, dude.
Okay,
yeah, please.
We'll see. My baby girl's coming home Wednesday.
Is that the big news?
No.
Okay.
But it is big news.
It is. Squirrel. What's the big news?
That Sam and David are moving tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
I'm so excited.
Nice job.
they closed on their house in Mayfield and then closed on their house in Chagrin the same day. Can you imagine how much paper, how many trees that is to sign?
I can only imagine how elated you are being that much closer to your grandbabies.
So excited. We were there on Saturday night. Just no chairs, no furniture, no nothing. But they, got the keys, so we had to go over. So excited for them.
So that's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow.
Nice
Big
job.
move. Big move. Yeah.
Nice jobs.
And then baby girl comes home Saturday.
It's just going to be
Wednesday.
Yeah, it's going to be a Gebler Palooza this week.
It is.
Oh my goodness!
I can't wait. I
Lord
can't wait.
Almighty.
Have all my family in one little. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
That's cool, man.
What about you? What's going on with you? What did you do this weekend?
I also have a medical issue. Yeah, but it's. I have massive amounts of poison ivy from my knees down. Yeah, you want to see it? Check this out.
Yes.
It's really gross. Look at this.
Oh, ow. Oh, for those of
Goes
you
all
who
the way
are
up.
listening at home, it
a
literally
picture.
looks like a burn victim.
Yeah, I do. It looks like 3rd-degree burns all over my
Oh
legs.
my gosh.
And
Where did you get that?
No idea. We go hiking a lot,
Right.
and but I'm also very careful.
You're sensitive to that kind of stuff, right?
I think so. Well, yes, I am. I've got lots of allergic contact stuff and lung stuff going on and skin stuff, but I'm also very careful, and I know how to spot poison ivy really well, and I look for it, and
Are you sure that's what it is?
Oh, yeah. So I went to urgent care. Note, folks, Sunday morning, not the best time to go.
And Monday morning, not the best time to go for your license, FYI.
All right, good to know.
We're really saving people today. We're saving.
We're going on break.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I went, they gave me a bunch of prednisone and a bunch of like this tetrahydra something or other to rub all over it.
Oh, my.
But yeah, it's nasty, right? Been itching a lot.
I would say so.
So
what they gave you, did that take away the itch?
It's supposed to, but it's working its way through my situation.
Okay.
Anywho, so that happened. We got there's a big home improvement thing happening at my house right now.
Oh,
flooring.
Oh, exciting.
Would have loved to use the chamber member, but we didn't because we went the DIY route. We just got our pieces and parts from different suppliers.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
I had only one, maybe two actual tasks associated with this home improvement project. I had to bring the flooring from Home Depot to my house. And then while I was there, I had to buy these very specific, they're called corner rounds. And that's where the flooring meets the wall, right? So there's like kind of like a rounded thing. You know what I mean? Like, what's that? Like a little runner at the bottom. See that?
Yeah.
So I had to buy that, and I had to buy transitions, which is where one floor meets another floor.
Got you.
So the reason I bring that all up, Molly, is because I managed to screw both of those up. I brought home the totally wrong parts, and Tiffany, God bless her, she was like, "Oh, that's so cute that you did your best there." And
now why would Tiffany encourage this mediocre behavior?
In fairness to myself,
Tiffany, you know that he's doing it so that he doesn't have to do it again, right? You do know he's messing it up so that you say, you know what? I'll just do it myself next time. That's their scheme.
Molly, if only I had that kind of foresight and planning and strategy. In this case,
I thought maybe my husband has taught you.
No. I inadvertently managed to screw everything up.
Nice.
But I did spend most of Sunday schlepping flooring from Home Depot in multiple trips back to
return it and then
back to our house. Yeah. And then
I'm glad you used Home Depot though. That makes me happy.
Is the hardware store over here on Main Street a chamber member?
They are, and they are the best.
That's who we really love.
When you're talking about flooring, they don't have that. Right. But yes, the hardware store is the best.
Yeah. Molly, can we talk about our new friend Catherine Bosley for a second?
Yeah, she's going to be our new friend.
Now, how do you know Catherine?
So Catherine reached out to me actually regarding a talk with the chamber.
Okay.
And I just felt like she'd be a great podcast guest.
Well, I think you're going to be right. So Catherine is a keynote speaker, a well-known keynote speaker. She's got a really interesting story that we'll let her tell here, but I will tell you that it is compelling.
Yeah.
And she spent 30 years as a TV anchor, as a TV news anchor. And she is now basically a storyteller. She helps
people to stay safe in this day of increasing digital danger, which our guests already listened to. Jesse, but Jesse is very kid focused. Catherine, I believe, is very adult focused. That adults are not exempt from putting things out there and having it go away. That's it's there forever.
Yeah.
Whatever you put out on that internet is there forever. So she is, she's going to tell us on how that affected her entire life.
Yeah. So these days you can find her at catherinebosley.com, and you can see her TEDx talk.
I watched that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
She's a great speaker.
Yeah, I mean, she's on all the social media platforms, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Journalist, online advocate, professional speaker. She's been a 2-time Emmy Award nominee, and she's won the Associated Press Award twice. Just a great career in journalism and a great speaker and storyteller. Let's bring her in.
Yes, I'm excited. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Molly.
Catherine
Good to
Bosley.
be here. Good to be here.
We have been talking about you behind your back.
Yes.
And
in a good way.
Yeah.
All good.
I'm always good with that.
Yeah.
The more people are talking, the better, right?
That's what my mom always used to say. At
Yes.
least they're talking about you.
Although I push back on the any news is good news. As you
All
know.
publicity is good publicity,
Yeah.
they say. No, I agree with you. I don't think that's the case either. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that used to be the case. I think that there was a much better filter.
Right.
Out
Yes,
there.
in better times.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Not so many avenues.
We talk about that. Molly and I have talked about this. By the way, we are in our, what is this, our 104th episode, something like that?
Oh, well, you guys are moving.
105th. This is 105th.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
We just had our 100th celebration.
We did.
Oh,
was
how long
lovely.
has it taken to get to 105?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
We have not been entirely faithful to our every Monday calendar.
Well,
Although pretty darn close.
Lately we
pretty
have been,
darn
but in the
close,
beginning
yeah.
we kind of just whatever.
Yeah.
Anywho, one thing we've talked about though on this show a fair amount is how the internet has provided both an amplifier and a screen for people to say things out loud that they would never say if their name was attached to it, if their face or reputation was attached to it. And it's almost like they've got this courage that is not really courage to say, right?
It's a shame. It's a shame. And it's a shame that we're finding that, that's part of the human fiber is to do that, to say more things that they would say when they're hiding behind, a screen name. It's showing us something about humanity that I don't think we really were that aware of.
We don't want to see. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I mean, the thing is though, right? Like, I don't think anyone really sees a light at the end of the tunnel.
No.
Like it actually seems like it's getting worse.
I believe it's getting worse. And, that's part of what I do. I'm trying to help us try to understand the power of, basically, sometimes I just say the power of the post, and to catch up with a better consciousness about what is going on here, and how it affects us online and off too. Right.
Right.
We should go back to the Downton Abbey days. That's what I'm binging right now. Because they would be like, I think I'll write a letter tomorrow and tell them that the house is on fire. But I'll write it tomorrow after dinner.
Yeah.
Or that gives time to think it through, and we need time to think. That's
I don't think they even knew back then that they really didn't have time to think. It was just, their way of life. Is what they knew. Yeah. But it's strange. We all know that it's all moving too fast now.
Well, there's two hacks that hacking in a good way. I mean, there's two hacks that I've been thinking a lot about lately that if only people, I think, would implement this, they would censor themselves more smarter, right? So one is a 1 minute delay, right? I'm dead serious.
With everything you say, post.
No, everything you post or write. So so I've got this, and I cannot tell you how much embarrassment this has saved me.
Oh, that's good.
Right? So, I mean, to judges, to lawyers, to clients.
On your email,
yeah.
right?
So if you have Outlook, you can create a rule. You go to create rule, and then no email will be sent out. It sits in your outbox for 1 full minute, and then you can create exceptions. Like if it's urgent, right? You can mark it important, and then it'll go out.
Oh, that's a great trick. Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you how many times I've gone back, I've had this little spidey sense, like, man, I'm being too emotional here, or, I mean, you have no idea how contentious our emails with opposing counsel get sometimes.
I've been there.
Yeah, right.
I've been there. 3 federal lawsuits. Yeah, I know how tough it can be. Right.
I mean, I can't, or just sending it to the wrong person, right? Or just typos fixing. So that's one thing. If everyone, I'm telling you right now, if all of our listeners will create a 1 minute rule on their Outlook email, I think Gmail does the same thing. There will be orders of magnitude of corrections that you add to yourself.
Oh yeah,
the whole world will be more peaceful.
Looking for that on Gmail for sure.
That's one. And then the other hack, which I just don't think is feasible anymore, is a friend of mine in Chicago, who is a coach, said that they write things by longhand still as much as they can, because it forces them to slow down the process of from thought to writing. You see the words more slowly, right? But that's.
I mean, don't you think when you're typing, sometimes you're like, I already wrote that word.
It's going.
Your fingers are almost ahead of your mind.
That's right.
It's frightening.
Supposedly, there is a lot of science behind the concept that you do better planning by longhand writing than you do by typing.
Get that?
So, like, strategy is improved, and you're thinking more long term better because your brain isn't going like 1,000 miles a minute.
Well, even when you think about the difference, if you think about writing longhand, then it's almost like it's a bit of a calming effect. And then you think about on your laptop or on your cell phone, it just feels like you got to go fast to make it happen. I mean, and it's stress.
Yeah. I know with the children's books that I can sit in front of my computer, but when I'm driving to New York or I'm driving a long distance, that's when all my stories were written.
Yeah.
It's not when I'm sitting in front of the computer. Sure. It's when my mind can just think.
Right.
My best writing is in the shower.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, Catherine, we need to dig into your story.
Yeah, your story's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
And it was viral before we even had the term viral.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, here, let's set it up. Let's do a little, so we just went through your background a little bit, but give us like you had a 30-year career as a news anchor.
At this point, this time I've got 30 years in it.
You were at 19?
I'm at 19 on a freelance basis now, right? But I'd worked there for about 14 years full time before then, and then Youngstown, Ohio for 10 years, and Rochester, New York, Elmira, New York, Erie, Pennsylvania. You jump around a lot in television news.
And you were the anchor person, right? Like you were the one reading the news.
Often, yes, but I've also worked plenty of years as a reporter out there on the field. Yeah.
Got it. From Youngstown originally?
From Ashtabula and Lake counties is where I grew up. Yeah.
Got it.
What high school?
I went to Ashtabula Harbor High School,
Okay,
which is no longer.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. So that's a pretty good, very short synopsis. I'm sure there's way more to the story, but okay. So now so at the time, well, let me just shut up and turn it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in Youngstown, Ohio, when all this craziness happened. So I'd been in the business for, I think, 10, 15 years, something like that. Yeah, about 15 years. And, when I talk, I speak to students, I speak to corporations, I speak on organizational levels all the time about this. So really, I go back to talking about what is your dream in life. And if I go back to the time I was 12 years old, my dream was to be in TV news. So I worked my way up. I worked my way from city to city, making no money and just determined to make this dream come true. So I get to Youngstown, Ohio, and actually this is making my dream come true because I'm getting closer to where I want to be, which is Cleveland, back in my home state, back with my friends and family, finally making a decent buck, working a Monday through Friday anchor job, and then who knew my husband would be hiding there in Youngstown. So talk about a dream coming true.
Path.
Yes, I mean, it was coming true beyond my expectations. And so Christmas morning, 2003, I'm running around the house taking care of a whole bunch of odds and ends. We're getting ready for a big party at our house. And I notice that there's a message on our answering machine. I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's just a guest calling to wish us Merry Christmas or to say that they're running late or what should they bring. I can't wait to hit play, and I'd love to play this message for you if that's okay with you.
Hey, Rick and Catherine, or should I say Rick and Kathy from Kent. Just want to let you know that the video from Girls Gone Wild has hit the Youngstown area. You are being shown Catherine or Kathy from Kent, as you know. I guess that's your stage name. It's being shown from everywhere from channel to bar and grill. Everyone's seen you in your full attire. Honey, your days are over. You think you're such a prissy little bitch, but your days are over. Have a very Merry Christmas.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Okay, did we know who that was? Or
No. Even 15 years later, I still don't know who
Are you kidding me?
person was. Yeah, but that was certainly the day my life changed forever. So here's the story behind that.
Again, a coward.
Right, a coward.
But,
For sure. And I feel bad for her because obviously she's got some things
Her
that
own
she's really
issues, but
unhappy in life
still.
that she would have to do this.
It's awful.
Right. So a year before this phone call, about 10 months before this phone call, my husband and I, we were in Key West, Florida, and we were celebrating a couple things. First of all, a 1-year anniversary, and secondly, that I was still alive. I'd suffered a life-threatening lung illness that year. I went from running a marathon to a hospital bed, unable to speak a full sentence without breathing treatments, to open lung surgery, and it's just a matter of a few weeks. Oh. And it kind of made the open heart surgery I had a couple years before that to repair a hole in my heart that I never knew I had seem not that bad. The lung specialist, when I asked him, am I going to live as I'm, choking to breathe, he kept saying, honey, one day at a time, so it was about 3 months of not knowing if I was going to live or not. So finally we get this news. You are going to live. This experimental drug therapy that you're on, this your only hope at this point, it is clearing up your lungs and you're going to live. So yeah. We go to Key West, soak in some badly needed healing sunshine, and we're walking down the main strip in Key West this one evening, and something just rises up inside me. I'm going to live. I'm going to live. And now I want to live. I want to go do something crazy because I'd always kind of done what I was supposed to do. When I was in my 30s, I always had my mind set on this dream, and I never wanted to stray or do anything that would jeopardize it. But now, 30-some years old, I just want to cut loose. And just so happens we walk into a bar that is having a usual spring break event. And yeah, I cut loose. I cut loose in a way so many kids do today during spring break when they're in a place like Key West. And, back then we all had our cell phones, but no one knew what to do with the pictures on our cell phones. It just kind of stayed there. And there was no social media like there is today. But there is the foundation of it all. Back then, 2003. And of course, that's the internet. So little did I know, there were a couple of major websites there with photographers there, and they just videotaped that whole crazy, silly event.
And this was a wet. I think
It
you
was a
talked
wet
about
t-shirt contest. Yeah, I call it my naked nightmare. It was
because you want to be up front. We don't want all
Right.
our listeners wondering. I mean,
what
it
the
was
heck.
something that I don't maybe, but we all did it in the high school.
It was a
I
lot
mean,
in college.
and-
It was silly.
I mean, you just got all this news and you just decide, you know what, I'm going to live a little life here. Like I have not been living, and I'm going to just live it.
And I'm just going to cut loose.
And
it
you're
just,
with your husband.
And it just happened to be when it struck me that we got life again. And there's going to be this crazy thing that I would have never taken part in before. And I'm just going to go do it. So, yeah, I do. And like I said, there were a couple of photographers there from a couple of websites we didn't know. And then that phone call 10 months later let me know that indeed I was in trouble. There was a company there similar to Girls Gone Wild. And so many young people today, they don't even know what Girls Gone Wild is, but we all know.
Right.
And yeah, they recorded the whole thing. And all I had to do was someone back in Youngstown 10 months later, 1,400 miles away, recognized me on one of those videos. And that
so
was
they're
it.
showing this video on their show.
They're selling it on their website. Their VHS copies. Yeah, they're selling them on their website.
So you said you don't know who this person is,
Right.
But she's not with that company. She's just somebody who had this grudge against you, who saw this video and decided she was going to spread it all over the place.
Well, I don't know what her part would have been in spreading it all over the place, but she was basically telling me that the video is out there and it's being played at this bar and that bar and that bar and a competing television station in town.
Okay, so another television station picked up. She was finding pleasure in a demise of yours.
she was-
Sure she was.
That's what she was
sadistic,
doing.
yeah.
Sure she was.
So then what happens?
Yeah, so, well, I lose my job. I go in the next day, the day after Christmas, to resign because I'm thinking, okay, I know what I did. And I don't know, I've never seen the video. There were pictures, too. There was another website there that had the pictures. I'd never seen any of that. I had no idea that it was out there anywhere, but I know what I did. And, and I'm desperately embarrassed. I can't imagine what the video and the pictures would have looked like. So I thought if I just kind of try to fly under the radar and quit my job, then maybe it'll all kind of go away. And my boss says, just wait for a week. Let's just figure out what's going on. He says, I heard about this, but I was hoping that this wasn't something real. So it only took a couple days before he said, you are out of here.
Wait, and I'm sorry, I'm a horrible interrupter. When the video goes out, is your name on it? Does it say who you? I mean,
this is kind of funny. So, I went to Kent State University. I'm sure my alma mater is very proud of me.
The caller does say something about Kent.
During the contest, we were all asked to give our names, and I'm with all these college co-eds, and they're all, I'm Sally from the University of Nebraska, and which I should have said, but I'm like, well, no one calls me Kathy anymore. I'll say I'm Kathy, and I went to Kent State, so I'm still kind of proud of it. But thinking that that's going to leave me in a bit of a disguise. And my face was still huge. It was what they call a moon face from all the medication I was still on. Then I wasn't drinking. I had one glass of wine, I think, that night. I was still on heavy medication. I still had lung disease. It was just working its way out. So yes, when they introduced me in the contest, they said it was Kathy from Kent. And so that's pretty much all it took.
So your boss says don't do anything for a week, but then he accepts your resignation.
Then he demands my resignation.
Okay.
Well, wait. I mean, I know I might be naive, but what's the reasoning? I mean,
that he didn't want his morning and noon show anchor to be the focus of bachelor parties. And for everyone to, when they see me doing the news, they could also go back and see this video. And so, it took away all the credibility of he felt the entire station.
Well, a lot of entertainment contracts and like athlete contracts have this like morals clause in them too, because they just want the right to say what reputation damage could occur. Right. And have the right to say, you know what, there might be reputational damage here. I don't know if there will be. So, I mean, I don't know if that was something like that in your contract.
I had a contract, and I don't think we ever hashed out whether or not I was in violation of whatever the clause was. I mean, when they decided that I needed to go, I felt bad for them, and and I respected their decision. I loved that station. That was my home. I only wanted to be in Youngstown for a couple of years. I thought it was going to be my launching pad into Cleveland. It's 10 years later. I'm still there because I love the people. I love the town, and my husband's there, and I wanted my home there to be forever. So I was pretty good with what was going on that way, and that I embarrassed them. And caused so much of an uproar. I felt awful for them. So I didn't fight it much. And then our friends talked us into seeing a lawyer and just seeing what we could do. And it just did not pan out. And when the station found out that I might be fighting it, then they got very angry with me. And then I felt like it was just making things so much worse. So let's just cut the losses and move on. And I'll try to figure out what I'm going to do with my life now.
So, so then what happens?
All right. So then I start to get inundated with requests from media around the country for interviews. It just spread like wildfire.
I remember seeing the story on TV.
Right.
Because the headline
like
was
naked news anchor. Yeah.
loses her job or something like that.
Right. Something like that.
That's the story.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Girl next door goes girl gone wild type stuff. And, she's the hometown news anchor. And so it got a lot of attention. My situation came up not long after Monica Lewinsky's, and it really ends up in retrospect being one of the first to show us all how with one mistake, the cyberspace can turn a real world upside down in a virtual split second. So I'm getting all these requests. The phone won't stop ringing. And, so Sharon Osbourne had a show back then. Oprah's calling, Inside Edition, Good Morning America, The O'Reilly Factor, Fox and Friends. It goes on and on and on.
Did you go on them?
So my husband was beside himself, you can imagine. And I was too, but I thought that I could just at least explain my mindset. And
your husband was beside himself in what?
Oh, in so many ways. He was embarrassed too. He felt terrible for what I was going through. He felt responsible for not stopping the whole thing. But our relationship is that we never tell each other what to do, and it was a team effort. It was just a team thing. And so it just became crazy. And so I kept saying no. I did a couple of them at first, and then I couldn't stand it anymore. And the more you do, the more other media are hearing it. Now they want their interview with you. So the phone calls from radio stations especially. But when Diane Sawyer herself called me,
oh my gosh,
you just don't say no to Diane Sawyer.
And that's the interview you did?
Yeah, that's the interview I did. And she understood that I made a mistake, and she talked a little bit about mistakes she's made in her past and how glad she was that they weren't recorded and so forth. But when I decided finally to go and be on Good Morning America, it was for 3 reasons. Number 1, to apologize to the world for what I had done. Number 2, to explain my mindset. And number 3, to make others more aware of this lack of privacy we have and the danger that we are all heading into with our private lives. That it's kind of being ripped out from underneath us if we're not so careful these days. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
isn't there like another narrative though? Because like I keep thinking, okay, if that happened today, would it be? I don't know that there's as much shaming. No, I take that back. There's clearly as much shaming happening because viral is viral. But like, as I was just hearing you talk, like, I don't know that it was that much of a mistake. You were having a good time. It was a mistake in retrospect because of what happened.
Right.
But at the time you didn't think it was a mistake, and your husband didn't think it was a mistake because you guys were having fun and you were celebrating.
Well, and immediately afterwards we did. It was immediately afterwards. I'll never forget the walk back to the hotel room. I was just bawling because I can't believe I let things get out of hand.
Really?
Yes, because it was stepped out of character, Alex.
Yeah, but all right. So here's the analogy. All right. So exotic dancers, not that you were one, but there's an analogy for that night, right?
Some people think that I am now.
Well, but okay, so if you walk into the Crazy Horse right now, you will find a lot of women that take money for taking their clothes off, and they go in there on a regular basis, right? And the narrative that I'm thinking about is, okay, if one of those women is also a news anchor,
Right.
Okay. Or is the head of an organization and she does her job well. Right. Would any of the three of us say that what she was doing on her own time at night to make money, to make ends meet, right? Or for whatever reason she came up with, should be deemed a mistake and should reflect on either her as a person or on what she does in her other job? You know, like, I think the only way to label that a mistake is by looking at it in hindsight and saying it blew up and people...
It blew up. It caused a lot of people a lot of pain. I mean, not just myself, but, you know, my television station and certainly all my family and friends who were who were hurting for me and embarrassed too, I would believe. Yeah,
but I guess my only point is that, yes, that all sucks.
Right.
That all sucks. But I would, and I'm sure you went through this journey yourself, not indict myself for the actions I took in that moment because of my mind. You know, like, I guess this was the point you were going to. The mindset you had in that moment was, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Oh,
and
right.
I still, as I sit here right now, don't think you were doing anything wrong.
And I do say this in my own defense. You know, I didn't commit a crime. I didn't do anything illegal there.
Yeah.
I didn't hurt anybody except for, you know, myself and again, the other people in my life.
This is 20 years ago.
So, yeah, this was in 2003. Yeah, 2003.
Okay, so keep going. So you go on Diane Sawyer.
Yes, and then I got apparently Good Morning America, at least back then, was closely associated with Inside Edition. And so Inside Edition called me immediately after I got done with Good Morning America. I didn't want to go on Inside Edition. That kind of
was the tabloid.
And that's kind of what it was back then. But I pretty much was told, you know, well, okay, you don't have to come on, but right now we're going to tell your story, so you can either come on and you know, speak for yourself, or we have the pictures and video. And so, you know, I really didn't have much of a choice. So,
I mean, you wanted to defend yourself.
Yes,
explain
of course.
the pictures and the video.
Right. And, you know, back then, honestly, I was so traumatized because my whole life was being ripped away from me. I mean, so these pictures and video, they're going from website to website. They just continued. So hundreds of people commenting on them daily and on me and saying I was stupid and ugly and had no reason to live. And even when we were at home, we had nowhere to hide because people would drive by honking their horns and yelling terrible things out the window. I mean, I when I went out, I had to go out pretty much in disguise, and there were a couple of moments that I was kind of chased down. I'm a runner, and so a couple of times I tried to just go run to try to, as my therapy for this. I got chased down by one time. This truck full of guys kept driving back and forth and yelling these awful things. And I had nowhere to go. I was in the park, and I could just go down a cliff, but I had my mace out and ready to go. I was terrified. So that's when we decided that we need to do something about this. You know, I can't keep living like this. And I don't think my family understands how I was very suicidal at that point, because the only escape I saw was this bottom drawer full of leftover pain medication from previous surgeries. And as long as I kept my mind on that drawer, kept my eye on that drawer, I could get through one more day. Because that was going to be my answer. Yeah, that was going to be when it was unbearable. That was my answer. And there were many times I went to bed thinking tomorrow will be the day. So I was at that point. And this one time I got chased down I was out of Kinko's trying to put together a resume, trying to find something to do. And some guy was chasing me through the store and called a radio station, and everyone was saying, go find Catherine Bosley. She's at the store. Go get her. Go tell her she needs to come on this radio show, where I literally had to run out of the store. And when I got home, my husband is hearing the radio station and hearing the chaos. And he says, we need to do something. So we called a lawyer in town who who loved high-profile cases, who I'd interviewed a million times. He represented some political figures who were in big trouble in Youngstown, so I knew he really liked those high-profile cases, and maybe he would take mine. And he basically said, "Catherine, I've been waiting for you to call. Come in tomorrow. Let's talk about what we can do." So we ended up filing our first federal lawsuit with him. And he ended up being a disaster. I can't even go. That's a whole book in itself. It was a disaster. But we did end up getting, we sued the companies that took the video and took the pictures and many of the others who put them up on their websites.
Because there was no release, no like when you
release was
walked
signed.
into the thing
Nope.
or entered the contest, there wasn't a here, sign
Nope.
this type of
Nope.
thing.
And
Because they're
other
morons.
media in town, that one competing television station that that this woman on the phone call mentions, they are reporting stories on me pretty much every night that I'm filing the lawsuit and that they talked to the defendants and the defendants said she signed a release. And I'm just racking my mind thinking, how can they say that? And I'm asking my husband, we didn't, right? and no, I didn't. And so when they ended up on the stand in federal court, and they said, no, she didn't. Everything changed. Oh. And so we ended up getting copyright ownership then to all of those images from Key West, all the video, all of those pictures. So it gave us now legal means to stop the dissemination at least and get as much of it off of the internet as we could. And of course, we all know with the internet, and this is the name of my presentation that I take everywhere. It's called Forever and for All to See. It's always going to be out there.
Right.
And in my case, that means my lawyers can't get to some obscure websites or some websites down on the very dark side of the internet. You have to come to terms with that.
And how do you go about even attempting to start demanding the removal of this video?
Well, we got another lawyer, a fantastic lawyer out of Cleveland. My hero, my knight in shining armor. I can't go on enough about him. But
Are you allowed to say his name?
His name is Andy Cabot. But we had David versus Goliath a couple of times. He put out cease and desist letters, and anyone, the video and the pictures, they came tumbling off of these websites, when people realized how serious I was about upholding my copyrights.
Sure.
Now, our second lawsuit it's kind of tricky, and I really don't want to say a whole lot about it, but it was found out that one of the other television stations in town, some other people were handing out that video, and it was also an edited version of the video. So all the other women in the sweat t-shirt contest, they were edited out, and it was just me. And they handed out a video or two or three. I don't know how many exactly.
Like literally, they downloaded them on a disc and handed them out to
They
people.
literally took the videotape back then, and they edited it, and they made their own versions, and they were handing them out.
Wow.
So, yes, federal,
so this is a
federal lawsuit
competitor-
number 2. Yes,
A competitor to the network that you were on already.
right, that I had been on in Youngstown. Yes,
I'm going
our
to say that
company.
that's where the girl's from too. I'm just going to go on a limb.
I have questions about her, but
I do too.
keep going.
Let's get a voice analysis.
Well, here's the thing.
person.
Here's the thing, right? I mean, yes, she clearly has her own problems, right? On the other hand, some accountability, right, in my mind would be appropriate. And I guess that's a question for you and maybe for Andy. I mean, did you guys ever, try to track her down?
Oh, we did. We absolutely did. And we couldn't. I mean, the phone company could not track back from where the phone call came from that day. And so, of course, we've asked around. And at this point, this phone call has become such a great part of my life now. It's so
you
ironic.
became aware of it.
Right.
You would have found out, obviously, but she actually let you know what
She
was
let
going
me know,
on.
number one. Number two, I use it as a way to get the message across about how serious this is and how this can happen to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And the phone call gets people's attention because it's vile. She's awful in there. But so I almost don't want to know who it is at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of like to leave her as a mystery and let it be
Oh,
like
wow.
that.
You and I are wired so differently, Catherine.
He wants to go get her, huh?
I would get like forensic former FBI, voice analyzers.
Well, she didn't commit a crime, and again, yeah, I feel sorry for her. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true, but I would put it out there. I would have a vendetta. I would be like, hey,
but
everyone.
then you're no worse than she is.
Probably, but I'd get some satisfaction out of it.
She's your typical
Yeah, she's like one of the people we were just talking
right.
about, right?
She's
like,
the poster.
Yeah, she doesn't have the courage to say who she
Right.
is.
Correct.
All she wants to do is hurt.
This is the
No, you're right.
20-year-old.
You're
This
right.
20-year difference. This is now you don't call. Now you just post it.
See, this is why you two are more mature than me.
We knew that from the beginning.
I do believe it's an inside job somehow because it was our home phone. It sounded like she knew my husband is Rick, and the phone call came apparently on Christmas Eve. And people in my world know that on Christmas Eve, we're all at my parents'. So she didn't want to talk to me. The more I listen to it, the more I hear it is scripted, and there's like a stumble in there, and it's almost like a nervous
she knew you
stumble.
weren't going to be home.
So I feel like she knew. Yeah. So of course I've thought a lot about it.
I'm sure.
Did you have like an enemies list of who you think it might be?
Well, sure. I mean, we all have people that are not your biggest fans, of course. You know?
Clearly, I'm fixated on this way more than either of you are. So let's move on. Here, Catherine. So talk about the sort of, for lack of a better word, like the recovery, right? Like how you bounced back. I want to hear that story.
So as I did these 2 federal lawsuits, and the second one ended up in a settlement, and that was great. So we didn't have to go to trial for that. But a news director in Cleveland at WOIO, he kind of recognized my resolve. They had done a story on me before when the whole thing first broke, and I had a little bit of an issue with the story they had done on me. And so, he said, come on in and meet me, let's talk. And it was kind of offering me a job right away. And I felt that it was it was about being exploited. And, and I just was in no mindset to
so here's
to
your
try
opportunity.
to,
you're
right in
you're
the middle
in Cleveland
in the middle of it all going on. Yeah. And I couldn't. And I said, I can't. And I was angry with them at the time. But as I went on and I went through the lawsuits and I found my way back, and I was working in radio in Youngstown, a television or a radio station that was always on my side. They were great. And we connected again, the news director in Cleveland and myself, and he offered me an opportunity again. He says, just come and just, let's do a little freelance work. It'll be kind of your audition, and let's see how things go. So that was, I think, 2005. And so I started.
How many years? That's 3 years later?
Yeah, it's
2 years?
2 years later. Yeah, a year and a half, 2 years later, right? So
Have
I came
things
back.
settled?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. And that's why I'm here today. I really want to tell you how this all ended up turned around in a wonderful way.
But in the year
actually.
and a half when you're back on WOIO, are you getting are they getting the responses? Get that girl off the.
Oh,
there's
a
that
lot.
girl.
There was a lot of applause for the station being courageous enough to give me a second chance. Although, of course, I'm thinking I've got to work my butt off more than ever before to prove that I'm more than that one. What I do call Alex my mistake, and so I worked my way up from being working as a freelancer to a full-time reporter to back up to the anchor set. So it was great, and I got my life back on track. But I'll never forget that one time I did go for a run and I was at my wit's end and I fell to the ground and I just said, God, if I could survive this, somehow I'm going to make it count. And I'm on the set and I'm reading these stories about young people taking their own lives because they're being cyberbullied. And that's exactly what I was. I mean, what had the most impact on me of all was what was coming at me on the internet from strangers. That is what went right through my soul. There's something about seeing it on your laptop or on your cell phone, people saying things about you that it's hard to understand. It's torment. It's a brainwashing type of a thing. And as I'm on the set reading these stories, I'm thinking, if I could have just talked to these kids and let them know that this is a fleeting moment and this is not nearly what it might feel like, maybe I could make a difference. So as my last contract came up at WOIO, it was a perfect opportunity to step away and now go out and make this story count. I've been writing the book this for a few years, way too many years, still looking for the right publisher. Hopefully I'll get it out next year. But so now I'm taking my story is, of course, the anchor to all of this. And there are so many other texts gone wrong, tweets gone wrong, emails gone wrong, so many other situations out there that kids don't even think about, that adults don't even think about in the corporate world that could come back to haunt them later. So it's twofold. The message I'm out there on now is twofold. Number one, you got to be so careful. There's so little room for the what was I thinking moment before it could become attached to you forever and for all to see. And I'm talking about being careful online and off, because you never know who is recording you, right? We walk down the street and people are on their cell phones and they're pointed maybe in your direction, or you just never know. You'll never, as much as I can control it, you'll never see me in a picture with a glass of booze.
And by the way, it's not just people with camera phones, because, I mean, every single day as we go into our future, there's just more surveillance.
And I use that with
everywhere.
the kids too. And there's no regulation behind what people who are taking those surveillance pictures or video, what they can do with it. So we're always on camera. So I'm trying to raise awareness, more of a consciousness about the consequences of everything that you're doing today online and off, how they can come back and haunt you years down the road, as I am indeed a perfect example of that. Now, the other side of it, of course, is inspirational. We got the cautionary and the inspirational, that you can survive this. Let me show you how. And I in retrospect, I go back to what I call my PACT, an acronym for how I was able to pull myself above this. And the T in PACT is the most important thing, and that's for this too shall pass. Especially young people, or anyone really who's feeling any kind of humiliation or hurt, to understand, whether it's coming from something online or something else in their lives, this too shall pass. We look back on these moments that we think are going to end our lives, and it passed, and actually it made me stronger and it taught me things. So that's what I'm out there speaking about, and it's wonderful. One teacher emailed me after she heard me speak at her high school, and she says, "You saved a life today," and that's all I need to know. I'm making it count now, like I promised I would. That fateful day.
The kids these days just feel like it's the end, and we did too.
They do.
When we were in high school. I mean, you just feel like this is the end. I can't get past
I don't
this.
think it's just the kids. I think that,
it's adults too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, we go through really embarrassing moments, and they cause us to feel shame. And your mind spirals into all these worst case scenarios, these parades of horribles that happen, some of which are real and some of which aren't. And actually, I wanted to ask you this. How do you go? Can you remember the moments or events that happened from the point where you're looking at that drawer with the suicide bottle in it to the "this too shall pass" realization? Like, I mean, was it like one thing? Was it a few things? Like what was the emotional trajectory from suicide to, okay, I got this?
Right. It was certainly an evolution.
Yeah.
But there is a moment that stands out, and that was when I was angry with my television station that I work at now, back then, for the story that they'd done on me. You see, they used the video, and I didn't know that they were going to use the video, and that was before I had copyright ownership. So I was angry with that. So when the news director said, let's come into the station, let's talk about it, and I'm living in Youngstown at the time, and I get in my car, and I'm driving, and it's very icy, and I'm running late, and the car starts to spin out of control, and it's a ragtop, a little 2-seater ragtop, and it starts to spin terribly. And I'm on the phone with my mom telling her that I'm going into Cleveland because that's the first time my dad even knew about it, is when he saw the story on Channel 19. And so I'm telling her, listen, the story's going to be on again, because I'm going in there, and that they want to talk to me about it, and they might try to redo the story. So just know that. And as my car starts going out of control, I scream and throw my phone, my poor mom, and it just is spinning and spinning. And before I know it, I'm going into the median, and I'm going to be going into oncoming traffic, and then the car stops. It didn't just slow down, it just stops. And I am a faithful person. I say faith, family, and friends is what rescued me. And I just felt like God put his finger down on the top of that car and said, see, you want to live. And so I had a whole new spirit. You're driving back into Cleveland and kind of dealing with that issue. And so I think I felt like that was kind of a sign. And you look around at the people who love you, and no matter what you do in life, they still love you. And that's pretty important. And so I think the combination, again, of faith, family, and friends, and certainly that moment made a big difference for me.
So are you not on TV anymore? You're just doing your mission and sharing your story?
I still do freelance work for
Okay.
Channel 19. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think the last time I anchored was about a month ago or so. But, yeah, every once in a while, I go back and play anchor.
And
It's still a lot of fun.
So you spend your time sharing this amazing story and this amazing message. You're a keynote speaker. You talk to schools.
Right.
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 And folks should absolutely go to CatherineBosley.com to learn more about what you do and,
Sure.
and how they can get a hold of
Sure.
you. I do note, Molly, that Catherine is a friend of our. Well, you weren't here for the interview with John.
No,
did you?
but
Oh,
we
yes.
talked
Yeah.
online
That's right.
about
That's
it.
right.
That was a
Yes.
great interview.
He's
yeah. How do you know
incredible,
John?
Isn't he?
He's amazing.
You know, I got my hair done at one of his salons, and as I was going into the speaking world, my stylist said, "Hey, you should meet our boss, John Julius, who's
Yeah.
a fantastic speaker. Meet him." And so I did indeed. I met him. He took some time out to give me some advice on how to get this speaking thing going, and then he has a fantastic organization called Believe in Dreams, and so I started to do some work for him, and we've become pretty good friends. So you know, it's just I do truly believe that people are good, and John is absolutely the epitome
Yeah.
of good, right? And so is my lawyer, Andy Cabot. Yes.
Yeah. He.
Now, how do you know John? How did he become a guest?
So I too am a client. I get my hair cut across the street at
good.
John Roberts.
Oh, so you get the nice hand and
The
arm
hand and arm
massage.
massage.
Yeah.
I usually skip
John,
that.
we need to
Oh.
become chamber members, dude.
Yeah.
You're right next door to my office.
I have been going to John Roberts Spa, Salon and Spa for
Say
like.
it proud, Alex.
I know, I don't care. I mean,
That's right.
It is an experience, and
It is,
yes.
and I've been going for like 10, 15 years, and you know, I will say this: you know that you are getting like a top shelf, you know, high class customer service experience when you're there.
Yes.
Right, you feel like that is a really important thing for them,
And that is
right?
his goal.
Yeah.
He's been
So,
really good at that.
so I tell the story. People should listen to the episode where I interview him. I tell the story there, so I'll be brief. But basically, I'm stuck in an airport, and he's in my LinkedIn feed, and one of his customer service revolution talks goes into my feed, and I watch it, and it's like this great message about how to know your customer better. And how to treat them so that they feel like they're at the Ritz-Carlton instead of at like the Motel 6, right? And I'm like, whoa. And I forwarded that video to all of my attorneys here, right? And all of my support staff here. And then I sent a message to him saying, I just did that. I just emailed your speech to all
Right.
of my staff. Let's get together. And then we met for coffee at his place, and we talked for a while. And I said, you've got to come on my podcast now.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, okay. And that's how I know him. That's how I interview him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Molly, go to John Roberts. Get your hair done there.
I
know, you got it.
I got my girl.
You got it, yeah.
Girls are.
Yeah,
I get
we
it.
were loyal.
I got my
I get
Tracy
it.
I
Faye.
get it.
Tracy
Right.
Faye.
I will say this, just, I mean, one of our core purposes here at the firm is to create a kick-ass experience for our clients and our team, right? That is something that we say to each other here. Are you having a kick-ass experience? Is our client having a
Well, the
kick-ass
customer
experience?
service, I think John will
Yeah.
be the first to tell you his first client is his
Right.
people who work for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason I mention that is because John has that down, right?
Oh, he
He
does.
understands how to create a kick-ass customer experience, probably better than almost anyone out there. And so I really, when he talks, I listen.
Oh,
and,
right.
and usually I forward to everybody here.
It's hard not to.
yeah.
But John did notice also that how my message would work beautifully at the corporate level, because you know every
Right.
corporation is only as good as their weakest link to a point. And if you got the weakest link who is out there at a bar mooning everybody, doing whatever, and it ends up on social media, and then it goes back and it's attached to your company, now you're going to, in a way, have to answer for it.
Right.
Or, you know, it's a reflection. This is the one thing with the internet, and I tell the kids when I talk to them too, what you do out there, it's not just about you anymore. It's a reflection on your family as well and on your friends as well. So you got to think about things like that when you're posting, you know, something hateful or something that's going to embarrass somebody. It's going to come back and haunt not just yourself, but it's going to haunt and hurt those around you, those who love you. And when it comes to companies, when it comes to businesses, that's a key thing. I mean, reputation management is so important. It's not just image matters these days, or image is everything. It's cyber image is everything. And if you've got an employee out there who is not disciplined and is irresponsible. And listen, this is a sad statement because I'm certainly no prude. I like to have fun. We all like to have fun, but we are in a different world now. And if you want to succeed, that's what we have to take into consideration as well.
Agreed.
We are going to take a very short break, and we're going to come back and we're going to fire a bunch of lightning round questions.
Oh, boy. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, kind of ready.
We'll be right back, folks. Hey folks, Alex Gertsburg here. I am CEO of the Gertsburg Law Firm and Cover My Six, and I hope you're enjoying the show so far. I wanted to take a quick second to tell you about something special we're doing at Cover My Six. If you own or run a business, I want you to go to covermysix.com to see if you qualify for a no-cost business vulnerability assessment. My business lawyers will meet with you in person, go over your customer contract, your employee handbook, and your other key legal documents, and help you spot any legal minefields that they see. We'll also give you some guidance on how to stop those minefields from blowing up your business. So go to covermysix.com to see if you qualify and to sign up. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the show. All right, we're back, kids. You ready for the lightning round?
I think so.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you'll
Did
be
a little
fine.
warm up, jogged around the office a bit. We're good.
Excellent. Molly Gebler?
Yes.
Ask away.
Okay. What are you binging?
You're talking about video. You're
Yes.
talking about TV.
TV, yes.
The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Love
Amazing.
that. Yes.
Did you see her acceptance speech, the agent?
No.
Oh, you need to look that up.
No.
It was about
Yeah.
her grandmother that was in line at the Holocaust,
Right.
and how she stepped out of line. She asked the shooter, if I step out of line, what will happen? And he said, well, I don't have the heart to shoot you, but you will get shot. And she did it anyways. And she was saying that because my grandmother stepped out of line, I am here and my children are here. And she was saying to have more women step out of line. So, yeah,
nice.
it was great. Great.
How metaphoric.
So what else?
So, Big Bang Theory. I can't get enough of Big Bang Theory. Yes.
I can't.
Yeah.
You don't know anything.
I mean, I know
about
it is a show, but
Yeah.
I've never watched it.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
good?
Yeah.
Well, you obviously.
Yeah,
love it.
I love it. I
Wait,
can't get enough of it. Yeah.
Molly, I forgot. I binged something else
What?
the other day. Fleabag. Have you ever watched it?
You know what? I haven't, but it won. It
fascinating.
won like all the awards at the Emmys.
It's fast. It's not like any other show. Do you have Amazon Prime?
We do. Yes.
Yeah. It is. It's not like anything else I've ever seen.
It's
before.
English, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
you understand them?
Oh,
Can
yeah.
you understand them?
Well, anything with foreign accents, I do the closed captioning.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh,
that's
are
a
you
good idea.
180?
I'm right there with him. That's why I said, can you understand it? Because,
It's really good.
She's a
down to-
sexaholic,
Yeah,
correct?
it's an extremely well written script.
Okay, it won.
Yeah, like it's one of
and
those.
She's the writer.
Oh, is she? I
The
didn't know that.
main girl is
Oh.
the director and writer and everything.
It's
yeah.
one of those things where like every few seconds there's just this really brilliant quote that like Tiffany and I've had to pause it and just be like, well, let's let that sink
Soak that in.
Yeah, it's so good.
I'm going to try it.
That's
I'll
good. You'd
try
like it. You'd
Okay.
like it. All right,
Okay.
keep going.
All right. Your perfect day.
My perfect day is sleeping in,
Amen,
And-
sister.
working out without time limits. I'll go for a nice long run, do some weightlifting, do a little yoga. Yeah. And then knowing that I've got an evening planned with my husband and with friends, that is my perfect day.
Okay.
But I also like to
You
know that I
lost
did
me at
something.
exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. What's on your mind?
How I'm going to make this message stronger every day. I mean, I go to bed, sleep thinking that. Yeah.
I got to tell you something.
Constantly on my mind.
I thought this when you played that message at the beginning. That is such a painful time in your life.
Yes,
Like, I mean, that's traumatizing.
it is.
You know, not just when was revealed, but like the suicidal part and all just the next couple of years of your life.
Right.
And you relive that every time you talk about it.
Which is why, and we mentioned that my husband he's here and he's walking down the streets, kind of checking out the shops. And you said, he could be in here. He can't stand to keep listening to it again and again. Mm-hmm. So I do send him on his way as much as I can.
I could imagine.
Yes.
But I have a question for you, right? I mean, I can understand wanting the message to resonate and to change people's lives, right? And maybe I just answered the question, but have you detached yourself emotionally from that moment so that it doesn't re-traumatize you every time you say it?
Most of the time.
You have to, right?
Yeah, you do. You have to. And I play that message though every time I make a presentation, and I do listen to it. And the first thing I say after that message is, even 15 years later, and truly every time I hear that message and I hear her voice, it hurts.
Right.
And it makes me hate myself all over again for a moment though. So, you do have to separate yourself. And even as a journalist, as a television journalist, you're out there and you're doing the stories. And I say the best journalists can feel their story.
Right.
You have to be able to feel the story. You have empathy, but you also have to have that skill to be able to write the story, with a clear mind as well, and let your emotions go in when they need to be there. Right.
Well, I commend you. I could not do it.
And kudos on your marriage. I mean, that had to be a huge strain on your marriage. You have no kids.
We have no kids.
Okay.
Yes. I was older when we got married, and I did have this heart condition. So, stepdaughters, though.
Your marriage, I mean, that had to be just a trial.
Stressful.
Yeah. And so the first year of being married, we had the lung disease. Right. And then the second and third year, and pretty much the rest of our marriage has been this.
Your husband's a saint.
We
need to have him on. Oh, my goodness. Okay. If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
Oh, there are so many things. I do love performing. So, maybe acting. I so wish that I didn't. I wish that I would have maybe looked into dancing and singing, something like that more when I was younger. That or police work. I love police work. Right. So pretty much very different thoughts. Yes.
Okay. I love it.
I want to do some police work and find out who left that message.
That kind of police work. And as a reporter, you kind of get to do some of that stuff sometimes.
If you're listening, sweetheart, your days are numbered because Alex is going to find you.
Have a very Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Alex, what do you got?
Catherine, you are stranded on a desert island, shipwrecked for a minimum of 3 months, but potentially for the rest of your life. You have no idea. You may bring with you any single musician's entire discography. Could be a person or a band. Who do you bring with you?
Well, of course, I have a couple of thoughts here, but my first one, indeed, is Mr. Johnny Cash.
Wow. I think that's a first for us.
That is very prolific. Yes. That'll keep you busy.
Yes. I mean, he's all over. He's got his incredible ballads, and he's got just his fun tunes, and he's got his country, and he's got his spiritual and his soul. He's got everything.
Yeah. That is a good one. That is a good one. Yeah. Mine would be Bob Dylan, who he sang with.
Right. Yeah. They're very close friends.
To our type. What is the habit or routine that you do on a regular basis that's given you the most mileage?
It is understanding that when you have a list of things to do, getting rid of those things that you can do fastest is the best way. Yeah.
I do the same thing.
Right. Just you can knock that off and check that off. Yeah. And it does serve me well. And I learned that the first job I had in TV news, when I'd go out and they give you 4 stories, and they want certain versions, and I'm like, I don't know. And this one that was so challenging, I'd work on that first, and then it wouldn't make the air. So nothing else would make the air because I didn't get to those little things first. So take care of those little things, get them out of the way first, and then take in your bigger challenges. Yeah.
And they give you a great sense of accomplishment.
Absolutely.
Right? You see those crossed off.
Yeah. You get the momentum going.
I love it. The Christy George question is, what an appropriate question for you.
Dear.
If you could interview any person who ever lived, who would it be?
I'm sure you're thinking of some huge, wonderful name of someone who, had a very profound life. But I think of my grandmother, my dad's mother, because I never really got to know her that much. And she came from Europe as well. And I would have liked to get to know her better. So yeah, she'd be the one person that I would like to interview.
I love that. I love that.
Who was yours, Molly? Did you say JC?
Jesus.
JC?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something?
Wouldn't that be crazy?
I think of people like Gloria Steinem. I mean, if you're thinking about history, so are they still alive or not? I don't know. But I'm thinking of like Gloria Steinem and Jessica Savage and, a few of the trailblazers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You probably could interview Gloria Steinem. You should interview her for your book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wonder what she would have to say about all that.
What?
Do you have her phone number?
She's amazing.
Amazing.
And she looks amazing and she's out there. She's still doing her gig. Yeah.
We've added a new question. It's after our friend and former guest, Brett Jones. If you could go back 100 years, what technology or knowledge would you take back with you?
Oh, boy. That is a tough one, isn't it? Because, I'm kind of down on technology these days.
You could thank Brett Jones for that one.
But, how about the cell phone before it was a smartphone?
Ooh, yeah, when it was a flip phone.
That? Yeah, it was
when
just
it was a razor.
phone, right. Yes.
Like
yeah, let's go there.
Yeah. There's people who hate the negative aspects of technology so much that they will only use the razor.
Oh yes, we know people.
Yeah, I like it.
And they're proud of it.
It's rebellious.
It is.
Yeah.
It's gone from embarrassing to rebellious. Yes.
Catherine, how would you define a life well lived?
I think it comes down to feeling a peace inside, a peacefulness inside. There's something that just snapped with me when I started to get out there and talk, and it's like, this is it. This is giving me peace, knowing that I think I really am doing something good. Television news certainly has it. There's some good aspects of working in television news, but you don't so much feel the effects of what you're doing out there being so good. And I truly believe it's knowing that you are doing something good that might make a difference. Yeah.
Gosh, I can't imagine. I mean, you must have people come up to you afterwards saying how you've influenced them and impacted them and changed them.
The one I get often that I didn't even see it coming was, so I talk to people and I have some of my staff talk to people after a presentation, and they'll just to interview them, and I use it as marketing video too. What did you get from Catherine's presentation? I want to be more brave, or I want to be a better person, or I want more courage. And that, I'll take it if that's what they're getting out of it. That's not my prime objective out there, right, to do that. So if that's what's coming out of what I'm saying, absolutely, that even makes,
you know what, we don't even need to find this girl. This is just what she's become, right? Yeah. Just what Catherine has become, and it's just got to be driving her crazy.
Oh, you mean find the girl, the girl who
we don't need to. She's it's eating her up inside that Catherine was able to overcome this, not easily. I'm not minimizing your accomplishment, but and then be able to influence people and talk to people, and right. This girl's probably like, ugh.
Well, it is interesting though. You're right, but it is interesting to see. All right, so but for this horrible thing that happened to you and all the trauma that you went through, I mean, there probably wouldn't be this wide audience of people who got your message and who changed their lives because of it.
Yes, right.
And
I do see that. It's very clear to me. So a lot of times I get the question, if you could go back and do it over again, would you? And again, aside from the hurt that I've caused other people, I have to say at this point, yes, because it's, I was blessed with having a voice, and now using it on a platform like this is, it's incredible.
Do you guys know who Brene Brown is?
Oh, yes.
Do you like her?
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, do you know her, Molly, at all? Mm-mm. So she talks a lot about, she's got a TED Talk, and she talks a lot about vulnerability and shame. right?
Right.
And it reminds me of something. So I've got a therapist, and she always tells me how shame is the stickiest of like memories. Right?
Oh, it is.
The ones that cause you shame are the ones that you fixate on, the ones that stay with you forever.
Why is that? Yeah.
Well, I mean, because it goes to your identity, right? Presumably,
yeah.
right? Like the person that you thought you were and that you aspired to be one day, the event that causes you shame is the one that attacks that identity, the one that makes you think, I'm obviously
absolutely.
not the person who I thought I
Right.
was. So Brene Brown talks about that a lot too. And the reason I bring it up is because I think that, yes, when I hear your story, yes, I could see how somebody would come up to you and say, you're making me want to be more brave and have more courage. But what I hear is that there shouldn't really be any shame in what you did. You know what I mean?
I see. I
You know what I mean? Like,
that, yes.
and the fact that you are clearly, I hope, are past that, right? I would hope that you are not feeling that anymore. And it makes me want to not feel shame for, you know what I mean?
That's well put. Yes. I
that make
see.
sense?
I see that. So
Does anything I say make sense to you, Molly? Are you still awake? You over there?
I'm here.
No, but I guess my point was, if I can just try to re-articulate
We're
it, is,
doing it again,
is
folks.
that
it takes shame. It's taking the shame of it head on, is what it is.
yes, exactly,
right.
exactly,
Right.
yeah. Okay, finally,
I have a TEDx talk, by the way.
yeah.
So yes,
Yeah,
I encourage everybody to go look up Catherine Bosley TEDx talk. Right.
Yeah, and I talked briefly about it. Where else can people find you other than?
So CatherineBosley.com. And you can, if you're looking for someone to come speak at your event, of course, you can certainly email me through my website that way. You can also find me on all the major social media. Yeah. I don't know about all these other ones that are popping up, but Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, the final lightning round question is: what is an embarrassing thing about yourself that very few people know, or for extra credit and bonus points that no one else knows? Gosh, this question has like extra resonance in this interview, Molly, I think.
Right. Because I mean, how much more embarrassing could it get, right? And everybody knows.
This is as ironic
I know.
a lightning round question as I think we've
I was
ever
gonna
had.
I was hoping you were just gonna skip right
it?
past it.
No, I think it's even more interesting now. I don't know. Is there?
Well, I think the embarrassment level of this whole thing is subsided for sure. Well, it's still there sometimes, but yeah. Whenever I see the pictures, it comes rushing back. So I don't know. I maybe the one thing that people don't know about me is that my childhood, my family and friends called me Lolly. So because apparently my brother couldn't pronounce my name, so I became a Lolly, and to this day, and he's a 50-year-old man. Every once in a while he'll slip and he'll say, "Hey, Lolly." So,
Oh my gosh,
Kathy,
Catherine,
Lolly.
Lolly.
I see that.
yeah,
I
sure.
get it.
Molly, I
Oh, my
declare
goodness.
this episode officially a success. What do you think?
Yes. Is your hope to just continue spreading the word in your story, or do you hope to get back full time on the TV, or like, is this your mission? Is this your?
I think that this is my mission now. I'm just
Okay.
finding so much reward in it. And television news is changing drastically. I've done it for 30 years altogether, and this is just exciting for me. My book, hopefully, again, if I get a publisher, we'll get it out next year, and so that'll change things for me a little bit. And it's 305 pages explaining some very surreal moments. I mean, one of the lawsuits was against Larry Flint, so I didn't get to that one.
Oh,
Yes,
my.
yes. Yeah, the Hustler magazine used one of my pictures in it, and so it was certainly David versus Goliath, and that's quite an interesting chapter as well. So I think that the book will take things a little bit in a different direction.
Was there a judgment or a settlement?
There was a verdict.
Was there dollars awarded?
There was. We won. Yes.
Can you say how much?
It wasn't very much. It was enough to take care of the lawyers' fees and
Got it.
put us on a
Go
little
to
bit of a
McDonald's.
vacation and put a little stash in the bank, but both of us still have to work.
Got it.
Yes.
It does make you pause, because we are all three of the generation of when we were younger and in high school and college. I think you, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
I think the cell phone just came out when I was a senior, but I mean, there was no picturing. There was no pictures or anything like that. That would have been 89. I think I had something in my car connected to my car, the bag, but no internet,
phone, right?
No pictures to the internet from a phone. So it makes it, you still pause, because there are pictures out there of us, maybe not bad, but that could still someday stumble.
It is.
Just because they're those little pictures or those Polaroids, they still could stumble.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean,
onto the internet.
There was a woman, I use her story a lot. She was a teacher, and she had nude selfies, and she sent out to a boyfriend. Maybe it's just one, and 3 years later, it surfaced. And this was just a few months ago. Actually, it surfaced. She was in upstate New York, and how it got out there, who knows?
Yeah.
If the boyfriend did it or not. But it was all through the students, the staff, the parents, the community. Of course, she got fired.
Yeah.
And so everybody's got the picture. Now, what is she going to do with it? She can go and try to get her copyrights. Of course, if you take a picture, you can get copyright ownership, and then you have legal means to stop it. But once it's out there, again, it's already out there. Yeah. So I do plan on continuing to talk about this on all levels. This has just begun for me, because I started after my TEDx last year. So I'm about a year in the making for this speaking thing, and it's just picking up like wildfire, which is great. But I think, of course, I'm going to be talking about, it's called digital everything forever and for all to see. But there's also some side avenues you could take with this whole thing, and rising above, and finding your strength and finding the good in bad things that happen. I mean, those are common themes, but I've got a few of episodes in my life that I look. Heart disease, lung disease, and my naked nightmare are 3 of the best things that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
They give you insight that you never had before. So certainly I would think that my speaking will evolve into something like that eventually too, because I can only stick with this theme, I think, for so long. But who knows? Like we say, things aren't going to change. They're only going to get worse. And so, maybe my message is going to be just a little stronger as the years go by.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. Very
you've
powerful.
got an amazing story and an amazing message, and it's impactful, which is what you have to be in order to sit in that chair in this podcast.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
very flattered.
Thanks for coming on. And Molly, what's happening with you? What's coming out? Nap time for Molly. Molly is going to go to the doctor.
Still selling my books.
Yes.
A piece of MollysMind.com. Get your children's book for the holidays, and we'll have one more coming out in November.
Okay.
Oh,
good.
so what age group?
I would say, newborn, because I read them to my newborn grandbabies,
Aw.
twins. And then I would say to 6, maybe 5 or 6. How old is
6?
6.
Maya's 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Can she read it?
I read it to her. She can read in short bursts.
Right. So
if
I would say
point
maybe
the
to
word,
8.
Oh,
Then
it's amazing what they can do.
Yeah. The pictures are phenomenal. My illustrator is a junior
isn't
from
that nice?
Chagrin Falls, and the illustrations, I mean, they just light up the book. So yeah, get your copies. Get your copies. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Folks, covermy6.com. Go there if you're a business owner. You want to check that out. It'll change the way you hire lawyers, and it'll keep you out of court. So go there, check it out. And if you're listening this far in, well, it sounds like you may not be Catherine's husband, because you've heard. Well, there's parts of this that I think you're. What's his name?
Rick.
Rick, listen. I hope you're listening. There's some good stuff in here, even though you don't want to hear the story again. You might be Andy Cabot. You might be listening, Andy.
Or John.
Or John DeJulius, or the other, I don't know, people we mentioned. But hopefully everyone in Chagrin Falls is
Get
listening.
to the point.
I
Chief.
hope.
Whoever you are, thank you, Molly. Whoever you are, find the device that you're listening to us on. Find the way to write a review or rate us iTunes is always the easiest. Go in there, say nice things about us, but leave some stars because that's good for Molly and me.
For a paycheck.
And yeah. And I was going to say our egos, but okay. Yeah.
You are getting paid, right? We're getting paid for this,
what?
right?
Wait a second. What? Yeah, do that, folks. You'd be doing me a favor. And definitely stay tuned. We've got some great guests lined up for the next couple of weeks. And Catherine, thanks again.
This was awesome. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's wonderful. Wonderful. I appreciate it.
We'll
see you guys.
y'all.
Thanks.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we thank you for listening. And remember to check out the Gertsburg Law Firm if you're starting, running, growing, or transitioning a business, or if you need to create or update your wills, trusts, or estate plan. Our firm and our lawyers are among the highest caliber and well-recognized professionals in the field. We are veteran-owned, have the highest rankings from Super Lawyers and the other key attorney rating organizations. And we were recently added to the coveted Weatherhead 100. More than being respected by our peers, our clients rely on us to successfully defend them in court, help them avoid the courtroom with our Cover My Six service, protect their assets, and for many non-legal business services like recruiting and business development. More than just litigators, we are trusted advisors, problem solvers, and growers of businesses. Let us help you and your company. Call us or find us online to learn more. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.